Welcome to Epiphany number 17, Building a Referral-Based Business. Today's training isn't about all the intricacies and steps involved in getting referrals and quality introductions or what to do with those introductions. This is more just about the idea that your ultimate goal in this business, or one of them, is to build a 100% referral-based business. I don't know if anyone has really a 100% referral-based business, but I know a number of advisors that are close to that, meaning a big chunk of their new business coming in is from referrals, easily over 50, 60, even 70%. Because when you have that, see, a couple things happen. And it's obvious. The first one is it reduces the amount of direct prospecting you have to do. And that's obviously the biggest hang up in our business is prospecting for new clients. So if you can have a big chunk of your business, even 25%, or 50% of your future clients coming from existing clients, that's an amazing feeling, right? Because you're not working for it. That's the hardest part of the business, the first step, which is prospecting. There's another ancillary benefit as well, which is when you meet with those people, they tend to be more pre-qualified. So if you're prospecting, direct prospecting as I'm calling it, versus referrals or introductions, and there's a variety of, there's flat out cold market, you meet someone at the grocery store and you happen to have a conversation and somehow you get an appointment, all the way to just someone sees you in the same place, like in a cigar lounge, over and over and over again, and then eventually it comes up, or whatever the case is. The difference with introductions or referrals is that the referral, the person that you're seeing, knows that a friend of theirs is already a client. There's a pre-built-in credibility, and probably your referral, the referee, right, your actual client, probably said good things about you, or else they wouldn't have accepted the introduction, regardless of how you set that up, whether you called them and said, hey, John told me to call you, or whether John called your prospect. Either way, the point is that you're coming somewhat pre-qualified. So in addition to eliminating the direct prospecting requirement, you also have this built-in credibility that's hard to get any other way. So those are the big benefits. So that's your goal, right? I even know advisors over the years, and I did this for a little while when I was still in the field, which is on my tagline, on my business cards and on my email tagline or some advertising, I'd say by referral only, to make it a little bit exclusive. Like, hey, I'm so busy that I only take it by referrals. Now be careful that you just don't say that and it's not true, because if someone kind of calls you out on it, that person's lost, or they're not going to do business with. They're not going to accept any kind of prospect attempt from you if they then later see that plastered everywhere and they're like, well, I didn't come that way. You were prospecting me, hard prospecting me, whatever. Excuse me. So let's take a look. There was a survey done that 88%, survey done of top advisors in the industry, and they said 88% of their clients come from some form of referral. Now, referral isn't always a person. It could be a networking group, or maybe the owner of a company and one of their employees. It comes out a lot of different ways. It's not always an active thing. Sometimes just someone asks, like I said, like that's happened to me before, where the owner was either a client or did a 401k, and then the employee finds out that who the advisor is on record. Either they ask someone, and then they get your name and number. So the other way to think of it is a referral-based business is really a form of residual income. Now, it's not totally passive. You have to work for it. But imagine you had a big enough client base and a good enough client base that you got 1 or 2 referrals a week, or even 2 or 3 a month, right? Now, you still have to work for it. You have to call those people, or they call you. Because sometimes the client will call you, hey, I got a guy, George, I think could use your help. Would you call George? So there's different levels of introductions and quality of referrals. But the point is, if you have permission to talk to someone, or better yet, they call you, that's a referral. That's an introduction. So it's a form of residual income, but you obviously have to still work for it, and not every referral is going to turn to a client. But it eliminates the prospecting step. So that's amazing, okay? Only 12% of amateurs, this is from the same study, only 12% of amateur advisors ask for referrals. 86% of clients, however, are receptive to being asked for a referral, right? So that's your goal. Your goal is to, I know many people's goal is just let me build up enough clients that the residual income is going to sustain my lifestyle. But that's a really far goal, and you can accomplish that. Or maybe someday I'll sell my book of business and then truly retire. But an intermediate major milestone is getting that client base big enough, and let me call it quality enough, strong relationship enough, that you have the referrals you need to get to have a percentage of your future business come from that. And that is a win. That's a huge win in this business. So I told you I wasn't going to make this a long training about the depths of referrals. I'm going to give you 5 tips and a bonus tip. So tip number 1 on referrals. First of all, there's no magic. Okay, so here's the tips. Number 1 is do a good job. I know it sounds stupid, but do a good job. Keep things simple. Make it easy to understand. Even if they forget a week later what you said, they'll remember that it was easy to understand when you said it. Okay, I built my entire client practice on the idea of making a complex subject simple. In fact, that was a tagline I used for many years. And I go out of my way, we have whole training on that, go out of my way to make things simple. How mutual funds work, how variable annuities work, how the market works, how it behaves, what an investment really is, what is a stock, and easy ways to explain that. That's all part of, I think, doing a good job. Number 2 is be available and be responsive. Sounds obvious. You've heard it 1,000 times. Hey, they message you. I got a question about taxes. Can I do a Roth and a traditional? When should I use a variable annuity? I remember you mentioning that. Or whatever. I need a question about my account. Within 24 hours, you need to reply. However, what messaging methodology you use, phone call, whatever it is, webinar, face-to-face, a text message if it's approved from your BD, whatever the case is. But even if you don't know the answer, or even if you can't get the answer, be responsive. Okay. Again, sounds stupid, sounds silly, sounds like why even bother mentioning it. You'd be surprised how many advisors don't do that. Number 3, do a monthly newsletter. I've got a whole training on that and why it's important. I wouldn't do it more often, and I wouldn't do it quarterly. I wouldn't do a monthly plus some big event comes up and you send another one. Now, of course, if the market, Black Monday, yes, you're going to reach out to your clients, but that's it happens once a decade, if that actually. So unless it's like that, whatever important thing you've got to mention to your client base, save it for the next month's newsletter. And do the newsletter basically the same day. Like I do it at the beginning of the month, it's easy. And do it 12 times a year, not 13, not 9, do it 12 times a year, because it's more about consistency than it is about content. And the content, keep it simple. Don't add 1,000 things. Add just a few pieces. I use the Nick Murray client newsletter, and that's 80% of my newsletter, and a couple of articles or podcasts publicly approved that I link to, and that's pretty much it. Number 4, related to that, is do an annual meeting. The annual meeting can be face-to-face, it can be a webinar, it could be a phone call. And sometimes it's 5 minutes, right? Don't think that your clients want to hear from you that much, that you want to call them every 12 weeks, 13 weeks. I had an advisor that I knew, pretty successful, but he called every one of his clients every 13 weeks. I'm glad I'm not your client. No disrespect, but you're a good guy and you're awesome and you did a great job. But I don't want to hear from my car insurance guy every 12 weeks, right? So that's my opinion over all these years of watching and studying other advisors do an annual meeting. Many times, if you call them to set it up, or you email them to set it up, or you just call them, or you set up and you call them to do a phone or webinar, half the time, if not more than half the time, they're going to just, hey, good to hear everything on track, everything's on track, and it's 5 minutes. How you doing? How's the family? How's your family? And you're done. Okay. It's just like the newsletter. It's more about them knowing you're still here, knowing you're still on top of it, knowing that you have the same philosophy you always had, and know that they can reach you when they need you, and then that they just need that reassurance. They don't actually read the newsletter. They don't really want to do a 2-hour meeting once a year. They want to go back to doing their thing. Okay. Number 5 is wish them happy birthdays, birth of a new child, anniversary if you know it. I wouldn't overdo it. Don't be sending gifts and parades down the street. It can become a technique. It can become overdone. Maybe a quick text message. I know some people do handwritten notes. That's wonderful. I think it depends on who it is. Okay. If a client is just a client, they're not really a buddy. They're a good client, but they're just a client, right? They're a referral from a referral from a referral, and probably the longer you're in the business, the more bulk of your client base will be that type of person. They're just a client. You don't play golf with them. You don't go to the cigar lounge with them. You don't join the Scotch club with them. They're just a client. Well, with those people, honestly, I don't send birthday cards and gifts because their kid graduated. It can get corny if you overdo that, but I'll send a text message. Hey, happy birthday today. Enjoy it. Boom, that's it, right? That's or even a Facebook or Instagram or whatever the case is, right? Just let them know. Do it your own way. I'm not trying to tell you how to do it, but I'm just saying you know their birthday because that's in all their account forms. You might not know their anniversary, so make sure I would do their birthday. So here's the bonus tip, last tip number 6 on ways to improve getting referrals and introductions. If they're in business or have a side gig, refer people to them, right? Whatever it is, maybe they're an independent plumber, which, by the way, some of them make a lot of money. Maybe they're a computer person, their own business, right? They're a computer, they're like a computer technician or programmer for hire. Whatever it is, there's a million things. If there's some way you can help, that's maybe the bigger broad thing. If there's some way you can help them that would either increase their business, help them make money on their side gig, or some other thing that they're doing. Maybe maybe they run a nonprofit or they're real passionate about some kind of charity. You don't have to give a lot of money to that. First of all, if you do that too much, then they're going to expect it. Then when you can't or don't want to, right, it's almost worse. But to some degree. So the point is help them with something that's important to them. So, and honestly, team, these 6 things, there's a few more techniques and things you can do. The big one is how to ask for referrals. We won't get into that. But if you do those 5 plus that bonus, there almost isn't really much more you can do other than how to get the referral in terms of maintaining referrals and getting your client base to help you get introductions. So hopefully that helped. Have a goal, maybe even track it to see, how many of my, I had 7 appointments in the last week, and one of them was from a referral. And then start tracking that and seeing. And once you start getting to 25 and over 50% of your future clients, or future appointments at least, are coming from existing clients, I'm telling you, your business will change, and you'll almost never have to work again, because as we know, 90% of the work in this business is prospecting and setting appointments.